Hey there everybody, Candy here from Scatter's Homestead. Welcome to the channel. If you're enjoying this journey that Sheldon and I are having and you want to be part of it, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you can get notifications whenever we are dropping another video and you can continue on with our journey. So we are at the end of February, which is crazy exciting. We have learned so many wonderful things in the last month, and I want to go ahead and share some of those things with you. If you are new to the channel, you might not know that we put in a challenge for ourselves that this month, the month of February, we were going to make sure that we were eating the foods that we had in our home. And there was a couple essentials that we ended up purchasing right before the month, and then we didn't want to step into a grocery store for the entire month. Reason being, we figured it would save us some money because so often you find yourselves walking through the grocery store a couple times throughout the week and you're just picking up things that you don't really need, and so we end up wasting food and not using the stuff that we have in our home. So we wanted to come up with just a plan that we were going to pick up the essentials and not step back into the grocery store for the entire month. So this video specific is going to be sharing all our pros and our cons of what happened throughout the month and whether or not we liked it or not. So sit back and enjoy. So one of the major pros that we had, we noticed very, very quickly was that I absolutely loved cooking this way. This is where I thrive. I don't thrive with many options. I get overwhelmed and I would just rather make nothing, where now it was very simple. We only had a couple ingredients. Well, we didn't. We had a lot of ingredients, but I had my basic few ingredients, and it's basically decide what you're gonna make out of this. And so it was tremendous because I made amazing food. We had homemade, well, you've seen it, I'll link it here. We had tortillas, or I should say tacos, but I made homemade sourdough tortillas and they were amazing. They were a hit. Also, my sourdough starter has been busy. I probably pull it out every single week, if not twice a week. I have made sourdough pasta. I have made sourdough bread, which I'm actually making right now. You want to see it? I have it here right now. The house is pretty cool, so I have it just resting here right by the fire. It's fantastic. That is going to be lunch, and it's large enough that it will last us a couple of days, so that it will just be a quick meal. We could eat that with basically anything. Today it's going to be with a beet salad. So another wonderful thing that we have enjoyed, which surprisingly, because we always have all these other options, we started enjoying beets. I had a lot of beets canned and frozen, and we never used them. And I love beets, but it was just one of those things. Again, it wasn't handy enough because it was down away in the pantry and I would never think to grab it. So we've been eating beets. We've been eating sourdough bread. We've been making sourdough tortillas and sourdough pasta, which I have always made pasta and it hurt my stomach. And I figured I need to find a recipe that works with sourdough starter, that it ferments a bit, that my stomach can handle it. I found it. They are awesome recipes. And so obviously you can tell, like, if we have all these grains in our diet, you know, all you have to add to that is a little bit of meat. Well, we have a lot of meat. And so we went ahead and we made pork, we made beef, we made chicken. You remember the video? I'll link it right here. The chicken, we made like 8 meals out of chicken. I canned chicken noodle soup, obviously not the noodles, but the chicken noodle broth, and I made bone broth off of that. So there is just many benefits to just stopping, slowing down, and seeing what we have in our home to eat. Another thing that, a question that I was asked was, how do you keep up with greens? How are you going to eat fresh greens during this time? And honestly, we didn't eat a ton of greens. So we had the sprouts. I showed you the sprouts. I was able to eat those, which were delicious. They have this tangy, bitter flavor. So you add that to a meal, it's just wonderful. But we didn't have a ton of greens. My plan was to have lettuce and to be growing lettuce in my home. And that just didn't happen. I can show you what they look like. They look really piddly and terrible. Here they are. They all got lanky and all spindly. And right now I don't need this space, so I'm just allowing them to continue soaking up all the sunshine. Something that is taking off really well is the cilantro. If you can see that. They're getting their adult leaves, and so I'm happy with that. The cilantro's doing well. And again, here's the spinach, and I thought, oh, I should just rip it out, but then I'm looking over here and it's like, those are spinach leaves, so I'm not tearing it out. I won't really hold my breath. So those are some things that we have done. Other than that, you know, it's just the typical, we're cleaning out the refrigerator, we're cleaning out the pantry. We ate a lot of rice, a ton of rice. And I found a very simple way to make it in the Instant Pot. You put the rice, you put the water into the Instant Pot, and then you add your spices however you want to flavor it. So I made a Spanish rice, and you're putting the tomato soup right in there and adding some spices. It was amazing. We had butter rice, and again, you're adding butter and some spices, and it was fantastic. Within 15 minutes, it is literally done. So that was wonderful. We actually kind of felt like we were eating like kings and queens, because we were eating things like tenderloin with butter rice, or we were eating Spanish rice with black bean tacos, and we had chicken noodle soup with biscuits, and we had, which Mennonites in this area would call chiltje and schmontvat. So give me a thumbs up if you know what that is. But it's a homemade pasta that you would make with a cream gravy, and then you serve that with farmer sausage, and then we'd had beets on the side. So we had a lot of wonderful dishes. But now you need to see, is my pantry, or is my fridge, or is my freezer any emptier? I kind of find it pretty vulnerable for myself to show you all of this stuff. But look at this. Do you see that? There's actually greens there. And I hadn't eaten it. But you can see there's a lot of leftovers. So this is the leftover of some of my beets. This is a leftover of some of that bria. We've got pasta here, rice here. We've got, those are potatoes right there. This is the chiltje and schmontvat. That's what they would call it. Farmer sausage. We have more beets. We have maple syrup. We've got, a cake my mother-in-law brought. That's always a gift. When somebody spoils you. So you can see we still have so much food in there. Oh, gross. We have an orange. It's gone bad. But we have avocados. So if you buy avocados and they're not completely ripe, you can put them in the refrigerator, and slowly but surely they soften, and then you can eat them. And you know, I used to be a cheese fanatic. You can see there's tons of cheese in there, but it just doesn't sit well with my stomach. So obviously there's condiments and all those kinds of things available. In our pantry, should I take you through it? Our pantry's a mess. It is deep, and so we just throw things in there, but I'll show you. So we have, this was from a time when somebody was house sitting. But we have, you know, all the essentials. There's still peanuts. We still have pecans, and we still have almonds. We have leftover taco chips. Literally from a month ago, we should throw them out. And we still have prunes. No, these are dates. We still have raisins. These are both pails full of dried beans. So that's what I'm cooking with all the time. We still have a ton of that. Like if you look inside, it's barely even touched. Oh, this you need to see. This is the last apple. Can you see? This is a tender apple. I was gonna say a tender flower. This is a tender apple. I told Sheldon not to throw it away because we could totally bake it and make something delicious out of it. So we're keeping it. I decided not to go downstairs and take you on a tour of our freezers just because you can probably hear it. There's a pump going, our water pump's going right now. I'm doing laundry and it's just too loud, but I'm actually limited on time to talk with you guys. So basically, those were the pros. What were the cons? Did we make any mistakes? That's a good question. Did we have to enter a grocery store? So I knew that milk was going to be an issue for Sheldon and for Ez, who lives with us. They are milk drinkers. They eat their cereal, they eat oatmeal every single day. And we tried to plan ahead, but we knew we wouldn't. Oh, there's the sunshine. It's coming again. We knew that it was not going to suffice. It wasn't going to hold up because we had milk won't last over 2 weeks in the refrigerator, and it's not something you can freeze. So there was one day that we ordered pizza from the local grocery store. They make homemade pizzas, and Sheldon came out with a jug of milk. So, did we buy anything at the grocery store? Yeah, we did. We bought 1 jug of milk. That's it. We were able to go the entire month with only having to buy a jug of milk. Again, I said, I'm not going to take you downstairs right now. It's really loud downstairs and I only have a bit of time to talk to you. So you guys, there were no cons. There was no cons at all. This is something we want to pick up and we want to live by. And so at the beginning of every single month from now on, we are going to go do our grocery shopping. And yes, we might have to go back once throughout the month to make sure that we have enough milk right now. Our plan, hopefully, we need to preg check our cows. Hopefully, one of our heifers is pregnant. And then I will be able to start milking in early summer and we will have our own milk. Our goal is to live off the land as much as we can, and we'll see. You're gonna go on this journey with us. But we just found so many benefits. This is how I love to cook. I find it so rich. We found that when we were praying at the beginning of each meal, we were thanking God because we did it again. We were able to actually have food from our home, from our land. It wasn't a bunch of preservatives. It was all, I shouldn't say preservatives. It wasn't a bunch of fake food. It was from our home. It was what we had grown and earned ourselves. It was so rewarding. So we continue to go on. March is going to be the same thing. We are going to do that. I know I haven't had the question, but I wonder if people are going to start asking, do you ever go out for a meal? And yes, we do. But otherwise, if we are cooking from scratch here in our home and absolutely loving it. So do you want to see the sourdough bread? I'm sure it's ready to go into the oven. I think that's gonna go into the oven. I wish it rose a little bit more. So I think that's all I have to really share with you. I don't know how long this video will be, but what I want to do is, this is the perfect time to give you a challenge. If you want to live more sustainably, it is best for you to start planning that out as you're planning your garden. And right now, while I'm recording this video, we are at the end of February. We're now moving on into March. This is when you're starting your seeds from scratch. And this is when you're planning out your garden and saying, okay, what does my family eat? Or what do I want my family to eat? And then you start planting, or you start planning and you're gonna purchase all of those plants and seeds later on in spring, right before it's time for planting. And so it's really important for you to look at your garden and say, this is my grocery store. This is where I'm going to be shopping from for the rest of the year. So how am I going to preserve it? How am I going to grow it? What am I going to grow? And where am I going to store this? So for us, we had to end up buying another freezer. It's never terrible to have to maybe build an extra shelf, buy an extra freezer just so that you and your family can eat more wholesome food. And always remember that you might feel like you have some limitations, but that does not mean you're limited, especially in something like this. There is always a way that you can figure out ways to be able to use your garden or your home, your land, your patio as your grocery store. So thanks so much for joining me.